Welcome back to the Walk and Talk podcast. I'm your host, Emily Faith. I am so excited to be back walking with you for our first walk of the new year. Welcome 2023. If you're like me, you might be someone who really enjoys New Year's resolutions. I think it's such a great time for me to take stock of the past year and look ahead and see what parts of my life that I have accepted and embraced, and look forward to the things that I do want to shift because I know that ultimately they are for my benefit. They're not filled with shame, and the changes aren't because someone else wants me to do them, but because I know at the end of the day that making these shifts in my life are going to support my mental health journey, support the relationships that I have, and help me accomplish the goals that I have, because I have a lot of them, y'all. One of my biggest goals this year is to be more consistent with this podcast. And so I'm just honored that you have stuck around, or maybe you're joining for the first time. Let's get walking. Because this is our first walk together this year, let's start out by just taking it easy. Take a deep breath in and out as you start on your trail, or maybe your sidewalk, or maybe just around your house. But keep taking some easy breaths in and out, filling your stomach and your lungs, maybe holding your breath at the top and releasing everything out with that exhale. I want you to do this a few times, and each time take a little bit of a deeper breath in and hold it and really let that breath out. Depending on where you are, you might add a sound to accompany that breath coming out of your mouth, or if you're around other people, that might not feel as appropriate, but I'm going to trust that you're going to do what's best for you and your body in this moment. And as we keep moving, let's start our body scan, starting from our feet and our toes hitting the pavement, all the way up to our ankles and our knees, just checking in with these body parts and noticing what's going on and maybe releasing any tension that's there. Moving up from your knees to your thighs and your hips, to your belly. Release those ab muscles if you've been keeping them in tight, and really have a nice full belly that you can breathe into. Let's move up to your rib cage and your chest. Notice any tension in your shoulders, arms, jaw, forehead, top of your head. And if you can, try to walk evenly, making sure that your hips are aligned and that you're taking the same stride on both of your legs if possible. You know, it's important when we look into the past to look with balance, just like I'm asking you to call balance into your body right now. So often we can look back and think of really amazing things that happened, or only the challenging things that happened. And so for this walk, I'd like for you to call in a balance and maybe an objectivity or some grace for your last year. And as we keep walking along, I would love for you to find something out in nature that externalizes that balance. The balance of the past year, the balance of maybe how you're feeling today, but something that allows this out of your body. It might be a tree or a car or a dog, whatever you can see. Take that in and really notice how it represents the balance that you may have experienced or had wanted to experience in the past year. Let's keep walking along. At this point, you can pick up your pace if you want to. You might notice that your breathing has changed from when we first got started. I would love for you just to notice that and not change it. When I think about my past year in 2022, it was a lot of traveling. It was a lot of rooting into my community, and it wasn't a lot of time for self-reflection for me. It felt like a building year. And so that's kind of the lens that I look back on, is it was only building. But if I am going to do for myself what I've asked you to do, I can also remember being at the beach and taking time to relax and feed myself there. I remember the books that I read. I remember that even in the moments of travel and community, that those were things that also filled me up. They didn't just take from me. And they weren't just something that was for a future version of myself. They were for me in that moment. When you think about 2022, as we walk, I want you to try to come up with a title for it. It could be a word or a phrase, or maybe for you, it's just a sound or a movement with your body. I'm going to title mine, Let's Go, Girls. I love Shania Twain, but that's the first thing that came out of my mouth. Let's go, girls. You might not have had a building year. You might have had a year that was full of change and grief. And I just want to let you know in this moment that that is welcome on this walk too. And it's welcome with me when you're with me in this space. I think sometimes when we look back, and if you're hearing people who had such an amazing year, it can feel like you're not allowed to experience all of the negative emotions that we experience. But that's just a part of life and living, and it is an honor that I can be here in some part walking with you through that. But I still think it's important to title it. As we keep walking on, I'm going to shift gears a little bit into the present moment. And so I'd like to do that with you by once again coming back to your body, back to your breath, and notice your surroundings. And even though it's a little bit trivial and very therapist-y, I would like for you to notice 5 things that you can see in this moment that are green. Try to take them in and count them. It might be hard depending on where you are. And after that, I want you to name 4 things that you can hear. Right now, you might be hearing the sound of my voice. If you're wearing noise-canceling headphones, it might be hard. But just notice and try to focus on what you can hear. Let's do 3 things that you can smell. 2 things that you can taste. And 1 emotion that you are holding in your body right now as we come back to this present moment. And notice if that emotion is how you are feeling in the present, or if it's lingering from something that happened earlier today, or anxiety about what's coming up. And see if you can, if it's not an emotion that's happening in the present moment, see if you can just notice that and let it float away. And allow yourself to feel what you feel right now as you're walking along, when I'm right here with you. Just notice what comes up. It is really hard for me to stay in the present moment, especially this past year, because it was so full of plans. And like I said, building, it was always about what comes next. This year I tried to commit, or this past year anyway, I tried to commit to a meditation practice. And that's something that I had previously rolled my eyes at because I thought, oh, that's for other people. That's not for me. Or my favorite thing to say was, well, when I meditate, I just think of everything. And what I've learned through the practice is that not thinking thoughts is not really the point. The point is to see if you can notice what comes up without getting swept up in it. And then do that over and over and over again. And that's been such a helpful lesson for my mind, but also my body. If I can just touch in for a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes into the present moment, my nervous system is able to stay regulated in a way that not only serves me in that moment, but for the rest of my day. I wish I could be there with you right now, because the question that's coming up for me is, do you like being in the present moment? Or is it hard for you? Or is it easier when there are other people around? And even though you can't answer that for me, maybe you can answer it for yourself. As we keep walking along like we're going to do for the next 5 minutes, we're now going to shift again into the present moment. Like I said at the top of this episode, I love goals. I love, like my birthday is a time that I also really like reset for the next few months of the year, whatever I want my year to look like. But I used to set many, 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 many goals, and I wanted to change many, many, many things about myself. And they were often due to external forces. And so this year, as I'm looking to the second half of my 30th year of living on this earth, and I'm looking to the entire year of 2023, I'm trying to focus on what goals do I want to set for myself and for myself only. For some of you, that might be rest. For you, it might be being more active, whether that's active in your community or in a hobby, or maybe there's a promotion at work you're really looking forward to. Whatever that is, I just want you to call that one thing into your mind. And it can be as big and delusional as you want it to be, or it can be just committing to this walk for the next 4 minutes. Whatever it is, I want you to call it into your mind right now. And once again, let's find something out that you see in your line of vision to externalize that goal, that desire. And when you find that object, no matter what it is, I want you to notice, how do you feel towards that part of you that has a goal? Are you shaming it because you think it's too small? Are you overwhelmed by it because you think it might be too big and too out of reach? Or are you able to look at it and accept it, knowing that it is a part of you, and that makes it wonderful and special and important and valid, no matter how big or small it is? As we keep walking along for the next 2 minutes, I want you to remember the first object that I had you find. And you may not be able to see it right now. You might have walked too far away, but as you call it into your mind, I want you to compare it to, or just notice it next to this future object. Is anything about them similar? Are there differences? Do they make you laugh looking at them? Does it make you sad? Just notice how they compare without judgment or shame or any extra thoughts. My 2 objects could not be more different. Last year was this plant that I chose that's wild and everywhere, and some parts of it are dead and some parts of it are alive. And what I chose for the new year was an empty coffee cup. And it's empty because there are things to be poured into it. But also, I love the way the coffee cup is. It's beautiful just as it is, without anything in it. And I like how different they are. I also like being here with you on this walk and knowing that you are taking time right now for yourself to touch in with what's going on internally, and hopefully having a little bit of a more focused, a more grounded, a more self-compassionate day or week. You know, I started this podcast with the hope that if clients couldn't work with me, or if they couldn't see me as often as they would like to, that they would have something in the in-between to get them through session and have them thinking about what we talked about in session. And it's been such a joy and a surprise to know that there are so many listeners out there that I don't work with. And it's magical to me in so many ways. And it's such an honor that you are here choosing to listen to the sound of my voice and go on walks with me. I wish I could reach out and just like give you a hug or a high five or a fist bump, whatever you want, or maybe just ignore you completely if that's more your speed, and commend you for walking for yourself and for letting me be a little part of that journey. As we cool down our time together, maybe you'll keep walking, but as we cool down our time together, I want you to come back to your breath, to come back to releasing your shoulders and your jaw, releasing your face muscles. That's one of the most helpful tools I have. When we relax our face muscles, we actually are signaling to the rest of our body that we are safe and that it can relax as well. So as you relax your eyes and your nose and your mouth and your forehead, and you can feel your body relaxing too, I would like for you to think about looking through this next week with the lens of that empty cup. Not because it's depleted, not because so much water flowed over that you had to pour it all out and start again, but because it's there and you have a choice what you're going to pour into it, what you're going to pour into the next week or a few months or the whole year of 2023. You have this choice. You also have the choice to not put anything in it at all, and that is okay. You can simply exist, and that is more than enough. Thank you so much for joining me on this walk, and I'll see you soon. Thank you again for listening to the Walk and Talk podcast with Emily Faith. I am a registered drama therapist, and I'm also an LPC associate in the state of Texas, supervised by Sarah Osmer. If you are looking for a therapist in Texas, you can reach out to me at contact@openhousetherapy.com. You can find more information about how to work with me in the show notes. And if you're not in Texas, feel free to reach out as well. I have a pretty wide network, and I want to help you get the support that you need.